This message is produced by truthfromgod.com, which is one of hundreds of messages that can be read, heard, and watched at truthfromgod.com. What about violence? Published in the Battle Axe, issue 109, February 1977. There have been many, from judges on down the line, who have slandered me by calling me an advocate of violence. The man has been propagandized into a grossly perverted picture of violence. Is violence bad? Can it be avoided? The computer conformist, who is a program parrot, will unthinkingly flash back, yes. But take a more profound look at these questions. Is violence bad? There are two types of violence. One, the violence of the oppressor, and two, the violence of the resistor. Are both bad, or is one good and the other bad? In Matthew 11:12, the Bible says, "The kingdom of heaven suffereth violence, and the violent take it by force." This is an example of the violence of the oppressor. The Bible also speaks of the violence of the resistor in Revelation 18:21. "And thus with violence shall that great city Babylon be thrown down." Jesus Christ advocated violence by going into the temple and whipping out the corrupted money changers, as recorded in John 2:15. He also preached violence in Matthew 10:34. "I came not to send peace, but a sword." In Luke 22:36, "He that hath no sword, let him sell his garment and buy one." Also in Luke 19:27, "But those mine enemies bring hither, and slay them before me." There are many violent attacks made by Jesus and aimed solely at the Contrary to modern Judaized Christianity, Jesus was not, but was an Israelite, or a race of murderers, as explained in the Bible, and they have made their living from the sword. Wars are harvest. They prosper while bleed and die. Are guilty of all the blood shed upon the earth. Matthew 23:35, Revelation 18:24. "And as they have lived by the sword, they shall also die by the sword." Revelation 13:10. Their control in America, England, Europe, Asia, South America, and Africa is absolute. They will never be talked into relinquishing their death grip upon our throats, but will only increase their power. Nothing will avail until the sword is slashed through their necks. The parasite must be purged from the body before health can be restored. The bull must be lanced and the pus forced out. As prophesied, it will take much violence to forever free ourselves of this violent slime. Violence in resistance to their evil is holy service to Yahweh. We will commit a fatal sin if we pacifistically sit idle while these violent devils use their force to steal our heritage. To him that knoweth to do good and doeth it not, to him it is sin. James 4:17. For over 7,000 years, we have tried to peacefully coexist with the even in direct disobedience to God. We tried entente, détente, pacifism, concession, and compromise, but their bloody attacks only increase. They have killed tens of billions in setting up communism in Russia, China, Cuba, South America, Europe, Korea, Vietnam, and South Africa, while threatening to bury us. We have submitted to their violence for too long. Now is the time to stand and speak, "Thus saith Yahweh God." Can violence be avoided? In order to carry out his plans of genocide, has set about to build a army. The Jew has filled America with in all sizes, shapes, shades, and varieties. The Jew then set up the federal and state social programs so that his vermin could breed freely while taxing working people so heavily that they cannot afford to have families. These people make a good living by breeding and having these grow more welfare and produce more as they increase. So does all the problems facing America. The Jew continually bombards this with the propaganda that they have been oppressed by man and that man is to blame for all their problems. Through such perverted lies, the Jew is inciting these savages to rise up in violent attacks against anything is the new battle cry of this violent, bloodthirsty, savage army. No amount of talking will stop them. They learn from childhood that only violence will get wealth. They must take, and take the law of the jungle. No petitions will subdue them, and no written resolutions will deter them. We have been chosen for slaughter, and the have been chosen to do the slaughtering. All this has been done by those claiming to be the chosen ones. Violence cannot be avoided. These bestial creatures do not understand anything but brute force. They will be subdued only through a greater violence than they possess. The time is long since past the talking stage. Now we must rise up and stand tall. Their violence must be met by a greater, superior strength of power. Violence has ushered in every great reformation in history. It must be seen as a necessary force through which the old passes away and the new is born. The contraction pains of death and birth. We in the News Party know and understand the role that violence must play at the end of this age. We therefore do not fear it nor think it is bad. We know that it cannot be avoided. We realize that words by themselves avail little, but they must be wielded as a sharp, two-edged sword. Violence is necessary, and Jeremiah 48:10 says, "Cursed be he that keepeth back his sword from blood." We do not cringe at the thought of violence. but will go forth and courageously conquer in the name of Yahweh. Their force and violence does not cause us to fear, but it inspires us to a fighting faith. Through battle, conflict, and strife, the oppressor's violence will be met and overcome by the violence of the resistors. Let us be like our forefathers, who through faith subdued kingdoms, wrought righteousness, obtained promises, stopped the mouths of lions, quenched the violence of fire, escaped the edge of the sword, out of weakness were made strong, waxed valiant in fight, turned to flight the armies of Hebrews 11:33 through 34. This message is produced by truthfromgod.com, which is one of hundreds of messages that can be read, heard, and watched at truthfromgod.com.